This is a pretty long one. Unfortunately, I can't read the entire thing. A NY Mag article came out today that's kind of a banger. And when I say kind of a banger, what I mean is that I've seen the screenshots of parts of it that have been posted to Twitter and haven't read the full thing myself. Like really peeling back the skin of the live streaming process to keep you all like you know in the know. A very transparent program we have going over here. It's about ChatGPT in schools. Ask ChatGPT for a summary. I mean, man, look at this length. How else am I supposed to get through it, huh? It's pretty bad. Basically, schools don't matter anymore. Like at all. That's the that's the gist of it, essentially. It's awful. Yeah. College is just how well I can use ChatGPT at this point. A student at Utah recently captioned a video of herself copy and pasting a chapter from her genocide and mass atrocity textbook into ChatGPT. I asked Wendy if I could read the paper she turned in, and when I opened the document, I was surprised to see the topic: critical pedagogy, the philosophy of education pioneered by Paulo Freire. The philosophy examines the influence of social and political forces on learning and classroom dynamics. Her opening line, quote, "To what extent is schooling hindering students' cognitive ability to think critically?" Later, I asked Wendy if she recognized the irony in using AI to write not just a paper on critical pedagogy, but one that argues learning is what, quote, makes us truly human. She wasn't sure what to make out of the question. I use AI a lot, like every day, she said. And I do believe it could take away that critical thinking part. But it's just, now that we rely on it, we can't really imagine living without it. Here's the other screenshot that I saw before I look at the actual article. Chungin, I assume? Roy Lee stepped onto Columbia University's campus this past fall and, by his own admission, proceeded to use generative artificial intelligence to cheat on nearly every assignment. As a computer science major, he depended on AI for his introductory programming classes. Quote, "I just dumped the prompt into ChatGPT and hand in whatever it spat out." By his rough math, AI wrote 80% of every essay he turned in. At the end, I'd put on the finishing touches. I just insert 20% of my humanity, my voice into it, Lee told me recently. Lee was born in South Korea and grew up outside Atlanta, where his parents run a college prep consulting business. He said he was admitted into Harvard early in his senior year of high school, but the university rescinded its offer after he was suspended for sneaking out during an overnight field trip before graduation. A year later, he applied to 26 schools. He didn't get into any of them. So he spent the next year at a community college before transferring to Columbia. His personal essay, which turned his winding road to higher education into a parable for his ambition to build companies, was written with help from ChatGPT. When he started at Columbia as a sophomore this past September, he didn't worry much about academics or his GPA. "Most assignments in college are not relevant," he told me. "They're hackable by AI, and I just had no interest in doing them." Hackable. I know what billionaire this guy's a fan of. While other students fretted over the university's rigorous core curriculum, described by the school as intellectually expansive and personally transformative, Lee used AI to breeze through with minimal effort. When I asked him why he'd gone through so much trouble to get an Ivy League education only to offload all of the learning to a robot, he said, quote, "It's the best place to meet your co-founder and your wife." Yeah, that sounds about right. This is kind of the mental model I have, I guess, for the kids these days. I have teacher friends who talk about shit where on pen and paper tests, students fill in answers with an AI prompt instead of the answer to the question. I don't understand what you mean. You mean it's a pen and paper test, and the question in the test is write out in your words what it meant when the author said the curtains were blue. And then they write, ChatGPT, explain what the author meant when he said the curtains are blue. Yes, that is what you mean. That is what you're saying happens in real life. Yes. Okay. We need to go back to failing people. Also, everything needs to be pen and paper. What's the solution to this? Homework is worthless. In-class essays are the only thing that matter. Or if not pen and paper, because I'll admit I'm pretty bad at writing. I have shaky hands since I broke them. ages ago, typing it up in class, like on school computers, you know, non-internet connected school computers. I tutor college essay writing, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard I wrote that section with ChatGPT. Okay, witch doctor, genuine question. How do you respond to that? What like what? So when a person admits to that, like, what's the response? How do you engage with that? I don't know. Ah, that's how the article opens. What the f is this shit? Modern education, it seems. Students using AI to give them the answers to even the most basic questions that they already know the answer to, but do not want to go through the literal effort of thinking to recall it from their memory. I can't believe we're like playing out a cyberpunk dystopia plotline right now. And it's happened so quickly and everywhere, and nobody even seems to care. I mean, the teachers care, but like no one listens to them, and they all get paid like $5 a year. Zuckerberg is pushing the idea that you'll have AI friends and therapists. Yeah, I saw. Zuckerberg's grand vision, most of your friends will be AI. I don't even want to talk about this because I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to say things about this. I feel like Silicon Valley is trying to invent things worse than Nazis. Like it's so obviously to make something that's worse than a Nazi, you have to start from being a Nazi, and then you have to find a way to make that worse. Right? And I think they're like desperately trying to construct that. They're trying to make that the norm. Like they're trying to invent that system. In January 2023, just 2 months after OpenAI launched ChatGPT, a survey of 1,000 college students found that nearly 90% of them had used the chatbot to help with homework assignments. Jesus. And that was right after it launched, too. I'm so close to going into the woods and never coming out again. It really does make it like feel like a waste of time to talk to people. Like my job is literally talking to people, and you guys are all right, I assume. You're probably a little annoying in person, but whatever. But like the whole project of rhetoric of like trying to convince people or believe in anything or have other people believe in things or try to have them see your way, it all kind of falls apart when people are essentially automatons. I don't know. Sarah, a freshman at Wilfrid Laurier University in Ontario, said she first used ChatGPT to cheat during the spring semester of her final year of high school. Sarah's name, like the other students, have been anonymized, right? After getting acquainted with the chatbot, Sarah used it for all her classes: Indigenous Studies, Law, English, and a hippie farming class called Green Industries. My grades were amazing, she said. It changed my life. Sarah continued to use AI when she started college this past fall. Why wouldn't she? Rarely did she sit in class and not see other students' laptops open to ChatGPT. Toward the end of the semester, she began to think she might be dependent on the website. She already considered herself addicted to TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and Reddit, where she writes under the username, "Maybe I'm not smart." Is that anonymized? I spend so much time on TikTok, she said, hours and hours until my eyes start hurting, which makes it hard to plan and do my schoolwork. With ChatGPT, I can write an essay in 2 hours that normally takes 12. Ugh. Remember when I said that things like ADHD can be like environmentally influenced, like they can be kind of created because your brain is a machine that creates patterns in itself? We are ADHD and autism maxing. By the way, Vosh, writing with pen and paper is better than even laptop notes. Yeah, I think you retain information better when you write it with pen and paper, because rather than just clicking a button and a character appears, you have to inscribe the things that you're taking notes on, like in a very deliberate fashion. You can't just press a button like you are going through the motions of writing it. It's just probably better for your mind. It does kind of suck that it feels like an academic from 50 or 60 years ago would genuinely mog the average person today in thoughtfulness. And I mean that. I don't mean in terms of like progressivism or even in terms of what they know. Like knowledge-wise, they would know less, right? Depending on the discipline. But in terms of thoughtfulness, I feel like they would obliterate us, right? Because the average person, I mean, the average like 20, 30, whatever something today. I mean, can you imagine being a teacher from the 1950s and coming forward in time and teaching a class full of students today? Even the highest student, like the most top of the line students, like, I don't know, Yale or whatever, MIT, we'd be getting mogged. That teacher would beat half the class to death. That is true. It isn't as if cheating is new, but now, as one student put it, the ceiling's been blown off. Who could resist a tool that makes every assignment easier with seemingly no consequences? After spending the better part of the past 2 years grading AI-generated papers, Troy Jullymore, a poet, philosopher, and Cal State Chico ethics professor, has concerns. Really? Massive numbers of students are going to emerge from universities with degrees and into the workforce who are essentially illiterate, he said, both in the literal sense and in the sense of being historically illiterate and having no knowledge of their own culture, much less anyone else's. That future may arrive sooner than expected when you consider what a short window college really is. It's kind of crazy how like the death of Western culture, the thing that Nazis were worried about happening because like black people are making music or something, which has only really sort of like emboldened, strengthened, and reiterated on Western culture, is being destroyed by AI, a thing Nazis love. Isn't that interesting? Already, roughly half of undergrads have never experienced college without easy access to generative AI. We're talking about an entire generation of learning perhaps significantly undermined here, said Green. It fucks me up that when I'm like old, and I'm talking to younger people and I'm like, yeah, we didn't have ChatGPT or whatever when I was in school. I just had to like do the essays. And then they say, oh my God, that must have sucked for you. And then I say, well, it made you a fucking retard. Like you're worse than me because you literally like didn't learn anything. They're going to treat me the same way that boomers that I treated boomers when boomers were like, yeah, I didn't have the internet. And I would be like, well, the internet gives you access to knowledge. So it like the internet improves your understanding of the issues if you use it properly. It's a tool. But that's not true anymore. Now the internet just makes you a retard. So the younger people, the people in the next generation are going to be like, oh yeah, he just Gramps Vosh just doesn't get it, man. This is just how it is. You know? It's just going to be treated like another like banal, morally neutral technological improvement, except they'll be functionally less capable. Yeah, but that's already happening. It like if you take on average, and I'm like a late millennial, my generation and I are smarter and more knowledgeable than the generations that came before. On average, we know more. And for the most part, throughout history, at least in modern history since the Industrial Revolution, that's been the trend. Younger people end up knowing more than older people because we benefit from advancements in the way we learn about things. And that's done. Like this is the first time it's ended now. Gen Z is going to be significantly stupid. Is already to a large extent significantly stupider than millennials and Gen Alpha and so on and so forth. I mean, even more so, right? Unless something changes, but like quote stupider. Yeah, motherfucker. You like that? You like that? ChatGPT wouldn't give you that, would they? You fucking linguistic prescriptivist, you fascist. Hey, listen, ChatGPT can help you say more stupid or less intelligent, all right? But ChatGPT can't tell you that linguistic prescriptivism is fascist. You fucking French. You fucking frog. Me may not know be smart, but me have heart. We. Jollymore, HRT. Who has been teaching writing for more than 2 decades, is now convinced that the humanities, and writing in particular, are quickly becoming an anachronistic art elective like basket weaving. Every time I talk to a colleague about this, the same thing comes up. Retirement. When can I retire? When can I get out of this? That's what we're all thinking now, he said. This is not what we signed up for. Williams and other educators I spoke to described AI's takeover as a full-blown existential crisis. Dude, these teachers need to have the authority to just have pen and paper tests, and if the kids f them up, they fail, and they just don't get to move forward. And that needs to be a standard. Why is that not like a generative AI, text, ChatGPT or whatever? It's been around for a while. Why have they not done this? Like, why has this not been a thing? The reason they won't do it is because then they'd fail everyone. It would make them look really bad. I don't know. I don't like the idea of failing people. I like the idea of failing people. Like, why not? Like, literally, what is the point of grading people if it's impossible to fail? I don't understand what the point of the system is if the outcome is predetermined. Isn't it like unfair to people who actually put in the effort for them to pass right alongside the people who are literally like, they're not only cheating, they're just not thinking. A problem almost no one talks about is teachers going along with this and making assignments harder with AI in mind, and then it fucks the few people over who don't use AI, a real problem for me. That does suck, but like, why make assignments harder? Why not just do them in class on written like paper? Using stuff that you can't really like prompt and take away people's phones. Okay, once again, we're coming back to this. You should just not be able to have a phone in school. Like legit, like that should just not be allowed at all. If there's an emergency or something, the parent calls the principal's desk, the secretary, and the secretary puts the PA on and calls that student. Literally just shouldn't be allowed. Okay, that's insane. It is literally how life was for many people growing up, including myself. You'll live. But in college? You can't really do it in college because people are adults and they have like classes that move around and stuff. You can't really do that in college. But in college, you can still do like handwritten essays in college. Okay, my teacher grew up bathing in the same bucket of water as their 3 siblings. We don't need to do that shit. Can you stop pretending that being away from your phone would be the end of your life? It'll probably improve your life. Like, honest to God, dollars to donuts, your life will probably improve, okay? It's not a life necessity. You don't need your phone. Yes, if I had my phone away from me for a bit, I would also get antsy and bored. You'll live. A large part of life is learning how to be antsy and bored. You don't have to deal with that anymore because you always have a supercomputer in your pocket, okay? It used to be sometimes you just sat there and did nothing. It's school. Yeah, it's a bit draining. This is the weed argument in a different font. Yeah, in the sense that you reflexively dislike it because it sounds like stern advice that your father would give you, and you resent me because I'm right, but you don't want to articulate the reasons why you think I'm wrong because it would reveal how juvenile your thinking is. It's same as the weed argument in the sense that I'm objectively correct, but you don't like it because it feels like your dad's telling you to clean your room. But you know what? I also think you should clean your room. It'll be years before we can fully account for what all this is doing to students' brains. Some early research shows that when students offload cognitive duties onto chatbots, their capacity for memory, problem solving, and creativity could suffer. Multiple studies published within the past year have linked AI usage with a deterioration in critical thinking skills. One found the effect to be more pronounced in younger participants. Eugh. In February, Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon University, published a study that found a person's confidence in generative AI correlated with reduced critical thinking effort. The net effect seems, if not quite Wall-E, at least a dramatic reorganization of a person's efforts and abilities away from high-effort inquiry and fact-gathering and toward integration and verification. This is all especially unnerving if you add in the reality that AI is imperfect. It might rely on something that is factually inaccurate or just make up something entirely, with the ruinous effect social media has had on Gen Z's ability to tell fact from fiction. Remember when people thought Gen Z was like the first generation to be immune to propaganda because they could get their news from TikTok, which is without propaganda? The problem may be much larger than generative AI. The so-called Flynn effect refers to the consistent rise in IQ scores from generation to generation going back to at least the 30s. That rise started to slow, in some cases reverse, around 2006. I can't believe, like, it's actually over. It's crazy. It's not just generative AI. It's also, like, to a large extent, the internet and social media. It's literally, like, it's literally just all of this is just a cognito hazard. The entire species is going to regressing, is going to continue to regress faster and faster. The Flynn effect is over. That's insane. Modern day leaded petrol. Yeah. Students are worrying about this, even if they're not willing or able to give up the chatbots that are making their lives exponentially easier. Daniel, a computer science major at the University of Florida, told me he remembers the first time he tried ChatGPT vividly. He marched down the hall to his high school computer science teacher's classroom, he said, and whipped out his Chromebook to show him. I was like, dude, you have to see this. My dad can look back on Steve Jobs' iPhone keynote and think, yeah, that was a big moment. That's what it was like for me, looking at something I would go on to use for every day for the rest of my life. I'm sure you can find an equal source saying the opposite, that people are getting like more intelligent in the younger generations as a consequence of AI use or social media addiction or whatever. I don't think I could. I don't think that's true. AI has made Daniel more curious. He likes that whenever he has a question, he can quickly access the thorough answer. But when he uses AI for homework, he often wonders, if I took the time to learn that, instead of just finding it out, would I have learned a lot more? At school, he asks ChatGPT to make sure his essays are polished and grammatically correct, to write the first few paragraphs of his essays when he's short on time, to handle the grunt work in his coding classes, to cut basically all cuttable corners. Sometimes he knows his use of AI is a clear violation of student conduct, but most of the time he feels like he's in a gray area. I don't think anyone calls seeing a tutor cheating, right? But what happens when a tutor starts writing lines of your paper for you? Cheating. Are they seriously deluding themselves into believing this isn't cheating? Did we just stop expelling people for cheating? I mean, I guess so, yeah. I like, wasn't that common back when I was in school? Like, if you were found to be cheating, you didn't just, like, lose marks or whatever. You could be expelled. Like, cheating was considered a big deal, but I guess, like, people get found out for using AI all the time. Do they just don't get in trouble? It's just like, oh, better luck next time? I mean, everyone cheats at this point, so why do it? Well, then everyone should be failed. This is the point of school. Like, the point, like, again, we spend a lot of taxpayer money on this, okay? The point of school is not to just to be like daycare for retard children, okay? The point is to learn things. If you're not learning things, then you should be expelled. Like, if you're cheating, like, that's the point. Unironically, this is like probably one of the reasons we're getting lapped educationally by the rest of the world, man. I have a feeling they're probably better about this. I'm not saying other countries aren't having issues with ChatGPT usage in their schools, but something tells me that there are other parts of the world where they're a lot more willing to fail people Finland is? Well, they have a good educational system. That's the core of the problem, though, school being seen as a necessary step to get a job. I agree the schooling system is broken. I'm just saying that, like, this seems like level one shit, man. Failing people for cheating or, like, flunking them if they don't know anything. That's, like, that's going to be the case, like, irrespective of whether education is seen as, like, valuable for its own purposes or whether it's being kind of used essentially as, like, a job inroad, right? Like, either way, I feel like you should be flunking people if they don't know anything. Oh, this is the end of the article. In late March, Columbia suspended Lee after he posted details about his disciplinary hearing on Twitter. He has no plans to go back to school and has no desire to work for a big tech company either. Lee explained to me that by showing the world AI could be used to cheat during a remote job interview, he had pushed the tech industry to evolve the same way AI was forcing higher education to evolve. Every technological innovation has caused humanity to sit back and think about what work is actually useful, he said. There might have been people complaining about machinery replacing blacksmiths in like the 1600s or 1800s, but now it's just accepted that it's useless to learn how to blacksmith. No, it's not. There are still blacksmiths in every country in the world that do specific work that, like, there's lots of very high-end, like, metal detailing work done by blacksmiths that isn't replicated by machines because you'd have to tool a whole goddamn machine to do the... I hate this person so fucking much. Unironically, like, the dregs of humanity who are worth nothing and produce nothing and don't think, and they only accept as gospel the, like, Elon Musk Silicon Valley tech idea of if you're disrupting things, that means it's good. All change is good. All disruption is good. You didn't believe in or produce anything to begin with, so it does not matter what the consequences of your behavior are. Lee already moved on from hacking interviews. In April, he and Shanmugam launched Cluely, which scans a user's computer screen and listens to its audio in order to provide AI feedback and answers to questions in real time without prompting. Yep, that sounds about right. We built Cluely so you never have to think alone again, the company's manifesto reads. This time, Lee attempted a viral launch with a $140,000 scripted advertisement in which a young software engineer, played by Lee, uses Cluely installed on his glasses to lie his way through a first date with an older woman. When the date starts going south, Cluely suggests Lee, quote, reference her art and provides a script for him to follow. I saw your profile in the painting with the tulips. You are the most gorgeous girl ever. Lee reads off his glasses, which rescues his chances with her. Really? That's how you sell your technology. I saw your profile and the painting with the tulips. You are the most gorgeous girl ever. That's the hot hit. That's the, like, art history knowledge that your AI prompt is pulling from the, that's it. I looked at your profile. You're pretty. That's like the first thing you say. That's like the opening message. Before launching Cluely, Lee and Shanmugam raised $5.3 million from investors. Yeah, that sounds about right. Which allowed them to hire 2 coders, friends Lee met in community college. No job interviews or lead code riddles were necessary, and moved to San Francisco. When we spoke a few days after Cluely's launch, Lee was at his realtor's office and about to get the keys to his new workspace. He was running Cluely on his computer as we spoke. While Cluely can't yet deliver real-time answers through people's glasses, the idea that it someday soon will run on a wearable device, seeing, hearing, and reacting to everything in your environment, then, eventually, it's just in your brain, Lee said matter-of-factly. For now, Lee hopes people will use Cluely to continue AI's siege in education. We're going to target the digital LSATs, digital GREs, all campus assignments, quizzes, and tests, he said. It'll enable you to cheat on pretty much everything. This is just tech cult shit. I mean, thankfully, this isn't going to work because he and the people who he's hired are retards who can't code. So it's not going to happen. Like, he's like literally the friends he met in community college. This is just another, like, .com bubble scam. Yeah, I don't know. This is like, we know who this guy voted for, right? This is genuinely what I think of when I think of, like, Gen Z Trump supporter. We're due for a correction. Yeah, genuinely, I think people like this should be... Can we introduce a caste system in America? I think that, like, we've been talking about India a lot lately. Can we pull a few pages from the book? Because I think people like this should be... Like, I think very highly of sanitation workers. It's a vital job. It's vital to health and public goodness. But I think that, like, we should have an extra caste below them of people who do unnecessarily degrading jobs until their back gives out. You know what I mean? Like, this guy should be on his hands and knees, toothbrush scrubbing the inside of septic tanks. I don't know why you would need anyone to do that. And he should be paid a living wage to do that, but that should be his job. This feels like the NPCification of humanity. And you know what? And you can get right back to the root of it, okay? Guarantee you 100% all of this psychosis in Lee, it stems from feeling weird about women, as fascism always does. And he's a fascist. I'm sorry, I know this. Just, I'm pulling this from the ether. How do I know? God told me. Oh, he doesn't speak to you? That must suck for you. From the get-go. Absolutely. I don't know. Girls are definitely using ChatGPT in school. Yeah, but this person isn't, this Lee individual isn't just using ChatGPT. This guy hates women. Who else would advertise a product they're doing a startup for by saying you can lie your way into dates with women? Rather than pay attention to women and have to listen to their words and look at them and know anything about them, you can fuck them after tricking them into thinking that you like them by using an AI prompt to tell them to, or tell you to tell them that they're pretty. This comes from the mind of somebody who despises women, hates women. It's a fundamental disconnect from natural human behavior that leads to stuff like this. Is he South Korean? Yes, I did remember that. Just curious. No relation. And the birth rate clunks down another fraction of a percent. Fuck it, let Kim have the whole peninsula. I mean, they probably have more normalized relations with women up in the north, I imagine.